So, what are y'all reading now? Like, what books are speaking to you in 2025? Because I'm having a really hard time reading anything that isn't dystopian fiction. Actually, kind of alternate between nonfiction, like Robin Wall Kimmerer's The Serviceberry, or Joe Trotter Jr.'s Workers on Arrival, or I also recently finished Let This Radicalize You. I try to read a fair amount of nonfiction, but I'm somebody who audiobooks several books a week. I like a lot of very lyrical prose. I like a lot of Rebecca Ross and Naomi Novik, Emily T. Kingfisher. I also like chick lit books. I really love Emily Henry. I don't really discriminate. I like lighthearted reads, but I've really been having a hard time since Trump took office reading and enjoying any of the more lighthearted fiction that normally would be something that feels like a reprieve for me. It feels like, well, an escape, obviously, because that's what that kind of fiction is supposed to be. That's not bleak and painful, something that doesn't make me feel existential dread, something that makes me feel, warm and happy and better about the world and restores my faith in humanity. I enjoy a fair amount of those books in between the other things that I read, but I really have not been able to consume any of that kind of media. I find myself DNFing books 10 or 15% of the way through because I'm like, I can't read this right now. Audiobook. I almost exclusively listen to audiobooks because I just don't have time to sit down and read a paper book right now. So I'm typically audiobooking while I go for my walk or while I'm working in the garden or doing things around the house or knitting or spinning or weaving. And I just can't right now. And I'm wondering if anybody else is having that same issue of the books that normally, the genres of books that would normally speak to you, you just can't connect with them right now. It feels really difficult to read about people living a very normal life in a very normal America. When things are so upended here. When it feels like I'm reading about a time in the distant past, even if the book was like set in 2022. I just feel so disconnected from that experience right now. It's hard for me to read those books, and I just wonder if I'm the only one. And if not, what are you reading? What are you reading right now? Because I find myself a little bit mired in bleak dystopian fiction. What are you reading? What speaks to you? What is something that you're actually able to get through? Some folks have said that they're really connecting with fiction about World War II right now, and that obviously makes sense. It obviously makes sense why people would be interested in post-apocalyptic fiction as well. I'm simultaneously frustrated and disheartened by the fact that books that used to be very comforting to me, books that used to kind of, fill me up a little bit, all those happily ever afters, I can't get through them. It's either that sense of, well, frankly, rage that kind of a reality is not accessible for most of us in the US right now, that it feels so fake. It feels like such a simplification of life. It feels like an America that no longer exists. It feels just like a little too rosy and cheery and naive for what we're going through right now. And so I'm just not really able to read any of those books. And I'm sorry to all my favorite authors and narrators that I am consistently checking out books on Libby and I get 10% of the way in and I'm like, I can't do this right now. I do have to say I'm currently reading a fantasy book by Ava Reid that I think is based on Hungarian folk tales. It's pretty dark. But also not quite so gloom and doom as previous books I've read. And I think there might be a happily ever after. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it ends. But what are y'all reading right now? What do you feel is the kind of literature that you're gravitating toward in 2025 and why? Fiction or nonfiction? Nonfiction, I am reading far less natural history, far fewer scientific books, and far more political books, philosophical books, books about organizing, books about building community, that kind of a thing. I really miss being able to connect with the fiction that used to be comforting to me. So I'd love to hear your recommendations or your perspective on how you are connecting with literature right now, what that looks like for you in 2025, and if you have any suggestions for me, I would greatly appreciate it.